All right, again, welcome everyone to the EnCorps 101 webinar. It's great to see a lot of people on the line today, and we're excited to have you join us. Currently, all webinar attendees are muted, and throughout the presentation, please feel free to ask questions via the question box. I will be recording this webinar, and I'll email you the link a few hours after the webinar ends. And when you do ask a question via the question box, I will try to answer your question. I'll actually unmute you for a moment and make sure that you don't have any follow-up questions, but at that time you can ask me those. Our webinar will last about 30 to 45 minutes today, and if we do have remaining questions at the end, I will also spend some more time answering questions. So again, welcome to the EnCorps Live question and answer session. My name is Bethany Orozco, and I am the statewide recruitment director. I'd love to begin with some our agenda and then some introductions. So we're going to talk about our mission and impact and the application and selection process, as well as what you can expect out of the fellowship, the benefits that our EnCorps fellows enjoy, and what happens beyond the fellowship, and of course, answer all the questions that you have. Just a real quick check that everyone can hear me. If you can hear me and see my screen, if you would go ahead and just type yes into the box there, that would be really helpful for me just to make sure. Okay, wonderful. I see that everyone's saying yes. Thank you so much. That's really helpful. All right, so I would like to introduce our program and recruitment team. So again, I'm Bethany. I'm the statewide recruitment and communications director. And on the left-hand side of your screen, you'll see our recruitment team. Sue Pitts, she's our Northern California recruitment coordinator, and Irene, she's our Southern California recruitment coordinator. And on the right-hand side of the screen, you'll see several of our program team members. Angel runs our program here in Southern California. Charles in San Diego is our coordinator there, and David in Northern California. So those are the people that you would be working with if you became an EnCorps fellow through our program. Our program team works very closely with our fellows and our school partners as well. A little background about myself. I actually got into education as a teacher. I began as a high school math and science teacher in the Los Angeles area, and I became really passionate about recruiting new talent into the teaching profession when I was a recruiter for a charter network in the San Fernando Valley. We went into the school year with many, many substitute teachers in our math and science and special education classrooms. And so I became really passionate about trying to get new people into the teaching profession. And that's when I found EnCorps. Been with EnCorps for about 5 years, and honestly, I continue to be blown away by the incredible people who desire to transfer their knowledge from industry into teaching by being involved in our program. And it's my honor to speak to candidates like all of you on the line today that are interested in making this transition, and you have so much to offer to the younger generation. So I'd love to meet each and every one of you. If you could just type into the box, why is it that you're interested in exploring teaching as a second career? And the second question, what STEM industry do you come from? You know, is it science, technology, engineering, finance, accounting, anything like that? Let me know. I'll give you 30 seconds or so to type your responses into the boxes. All right, I'm seeing some responses coming in. Thank you, keep them coming. I'll give you 10 more seconds. I'm excited to meet all of you. All right, so I'm just going to read off a couple of the responses of people that we have coming in. So coming from the semiconductor field, that's very cool, and have always had an interest in teaching and considered it as a second career for years. Want to make a difference with youth, especially STEM as an option. That's great, you're in the right place. I've always enjoyed working with teenagers, which I have done through my volunteer work, and I want to share my love of science with them. Awesome, very nice to meet you. Building contractor with a background in finance and real estate. Very cool. We've got people coming from healthcare, the medical lab, engineering, software and analytics. Wonderful. It's nice to meet all of you. Again, welcome, and excited to talk to you further, both right now and after the webinar. So let's go ahead and get into why it is that EnCorps exists. First of all, we know that students excel in excellent teachers' classrooms. Research shows that teachers are the most important school-based factor in student achievement, and that encountering an above-average teacher for 5 years in a row could overcome the achievement gap. Teachers have a huge role on our students' futures, including their future earnings, and this is why we're working to find STEM professionals who can bring real-world experience, expert content knowledge, and access to opportunity to our highest need schools, and you could be that teacher. So unfortunately, we do not have enough excellent STEM teachers, especially for our most disadvantaged communities. There is a crisis-level teacher shortage in California. The Learning Policy Institute says that teacher shortages have been worsening in California since 2015. Growth in teacher demand as the economy has improved has collided with steep declines in the supply of new teachers. And since 2015, California districts have reported acute teacher shortages, especially in math and science. And as you can see, estimated teacher hires do not match up with new teaching credentials issued. And these shortages are more pronounced in high-need schools with high proportions of students of color and students from low-income communities. And these are the schools that the EnCorps Fellows serve. We believe that all students should have access to a great STEM education, teacher, and opportunities, and this is not currently true. STEM education in the US and in California is lacking, especially for minority and low-income students. In the most recent results from our Smarter Balanced assessments, you can see the math results here, only 39% of students in California met or exceeded the math standards. And it's worse when we look at the data by ethnicity. The racial achievement gap persists. 54% of white students met or exceeded the math standards in 2018, but only 27% of Latino students and only about 20% of African American students met or exceeded them. This is not okay. Also globally, we should be pretty worried about where our students stand in math and science. The Pisa exam, here we're looking at the science results, is a worldwide study of 15-year-olds' performance. Students in China, Hong Kong, Canada, Finland, Estonia, Taiwan, and Japan are about a year ahead of the US on average, and students in Singapore are more than 2 years ahead. We need our students to be able to compete in a global economy, and not only that, we need a diverse STEM workforce in order to be able to innovate and move forward. And so the question is, how can we place an excellent STEM teacher in every classroom in order to engage our students in real-world problems and expose them to opportunities? And this is where you all come in. You have expertise and want to get involved in public education. Just being on this webinar is the first step to doing that. And you can truly make a difference with EnCorps. Students need to learn from experts in the field who can answer the question of relevance, and students need role models like you who have real industry experience that can connect their schoolwork to the real world and to real careers. EnCorps is now in our 12th year of public service, and we are the only nonprofit in the nation that enables STEM professionals to make a career transition to teaching in a low risk and highly supported way. The fellowship is an innovative and long-term solution to the STEM achievement and literacy gaps that disproportionately limit low-income and minority student opportunities. And we believe that STEM industry leaders bring technical skills, leadership, and real-world expertise to public schools, and that you are able to deliver an authentic and rigorous STEM education to the students who need it most. So we're tapping into a resource that no one else is tapping into to engage our highest needs students in math and science. Over the last 12 years, we've seen the great impact that people like you can have on students. EnCorps Fellows impact over 30,000 students in high needs schools annually. And over 96% of our school partners report increases in student excitement and conceptual understanding of math and science while working with an EnCorps Fellow. Similarly, over 92% report increases in achievement as well. And EnCorps Fellows stay in teaching. We have an 88% 5-year teacher retention rate compared to nearly 50% of teachers that remain in California low-income districts after 5 years of teaching. We believe that our support, professional development, and preparation contribute to this rate. And we're also proud to say that our fellows bring diversity to the classroom. 46% are teachers of color compared to the national average of about 18%. So with all of that, let's get into some of the details about the EnCorps program and our application and selection process. Qualified applicants for the EnCorps Fellowship must currently live in an area that we serve. So we serve the greater San Francisco Bay Area, Sacramento, the greater Los Angeles area, which also includes North Orange County, Riverside, and San Diego. You must have at least 3 or more years of work or research experience as an industry professional, be fully eligible to work in the United States, hold an undergraduate degree with a 2.5 GPA or higher, and not currently hold a California single subject teaching credential, as that is something that you will earn in our program. These are what we call our baseline eligibility requirements. And if you meet these, then the next step will be to fill out an online application with background information, if you haven't done so already. And previous coursework or experience in education is not expected or necessary. Excuse me. You can find out more about our eligibility criteria on our website. So after submitting an online application, qualified applicants would be invited to record a video interview online. This is a pretty easy process. You'll be sent a link to respond to 3 questions in 3 minutes on video. And we are not looking for perfection in this video, just your authentic response to our questions. Our team then reviews your video and invites qualified applicants to the next round, which is an in-person interview where you'll meet EnCorps staff and learn more about our program. At that point, if we feel you're a great fit for the fellowship, then we invite you to join EnCorps. You receive a commitment letter and instructions for completing a background check. EnCorps is a selective program, and we take our role in finding great STEM teachers for high needs schools very seriously. In the last 3 years, about 35% of applicants were invited to that in-person interview stage. All right, so our fellows come from a diverse range of STEM industries, but share a core commitment to public service and teaching in high needs schools. And so the STEM Teaching Fellowship might be right for you if you are collaborative, flexible, and you embrace new challenges. We're looking for people that are detail-oriented and highly organized. And most importantly, that you have an unwavering belief that all students can achieve regardless of their background or circumstances. So once you are in our STEM Teaching Fellowship, you will choose from 2 types of teaching credentials. One is called the Single Subject Credential, and this is in core traditional subjects like math, chemistry, biology, and physics. And the second is called the Career and Technical Education Credential. We call it CTE for short. And this is taught as elective courses in subjects like engineering, information technology, transportation, manufacturing. You can see all of those subject areas listed. So you would choose one of these types of credentials. It is also possible to get dual credentialed, and we can talk a little bit more about that. But your timeline to complete the EnCorps program and begin teaching in your own classroom is dependent on what type of credential you decide to earn, your preferred timeline, and also when you apply and interview for the fellowship. So by applying and interviewing before December of 2019, you'll set yourself up to have the option to begin teaching by next fall of 2020 or the following school year. As a new fellow, you would begin our program with online training right away. We have online modules, and you would also attend our Fall Institute, which happens at the end of October or beginning of November. Then, in order to begin volunteer guest teaching in January, you'll attend a new volunteer orientation in December. Volunteer guest teaching will occur from about January to May for a minimum of 2 hours per week at a local school site. And then you may choose from an accelerated or standard timeline that you see here on the screen. So with the accelerated pathway, you'll teach in your own classroom by fall of 2020. And you will choose either a single subject credential or a CTE credential. So if you choose a single subject credential, in order to teach by the coming fall, you would go through what's called an intern program, beginning coursework in the spring and continuing that coursework through your first year teaching, either online or in the evenings. As an intern teacher, you would earn a salary and benefits from your school site, and you can also choose the CTE route. So if you choose the CTE credential, you would take that CTE coursework in the spring. This lasts about 4 months, and again, this would allow you to teach by fall of 2020. With the standard pathway, you will be teaching in your own classroom by the fall of 2021. And so after guest teaching, you would spend a year taking coursework and student teaching or participating in a residency program to earn your single subject teaching credential. This is a bit longer timeline and allows you to gain a lot of field experience and training before going into your own classroom. So just to reiterate, that information is seen on the screen again in text. And again, you would choose from the single subject or career and technical education credential programs. And you can see the timelines listed here in writing. EnCorps has relationships with most universities in our regions. We do not specify a specific university that you must earn your credential through, but we have these relationships, and sometimes we can also offer a tuition reduction at select universities. So for some additional details about those two types of credentials, for the single subject credential, you would need to pass the CBEST and CSET exams. The CBEST exam is a basic skills test, and the CSET exams are subject specific. You do not need to pass these before applying to EnCorps. We actually recommend that our fellows pass them by April 1st of 2020. And then you will also need to obtain official transcripts and submit those along with a resume and essay to the university of your choice, and EnCorps will walk you through that whole process. The tuition for single subject programs ranges from about $10,000 to $25,000, with the CSU schools usually being the cheapest option. So the EnCorps program itself is free for our fellows, but we partner with universities and county offices of education who conduct the coursework for you to earn your teaching credential. And so what you pay would be tuition to earn your credential and take courses through the university. If you are looking at earning a single subject credential, you are typically eligible to apply for the federal Teach Grant for up to $5,000 towards your tuition. Now, on the other hand, for a CTE credential, you will not need to complete the CBEST or CSET exams. Instead, you would obtain verifications of employment and official transcripts, and then apply to your program. Most EnCorps Fellows have gone through the Orange County Department of Education, which is a connection through EnCorps, because their program is online. Their online coursework takes 3 to 4 months to complete, and you can actually begin it in October, February, or June. And so for EnCorps Fellows who do not yet have a single subject credential, the tuition is about $2,500. If you choose to earn both types of credential, we recommend getting your single subject credential first, because it allows you to skip much of the coursework for the CTE credential and also reduces the price of tuition. And we'll get into more detail about credentialing requirements and timelines at in-person interviews if you're invited to participate in those, but I'm happy to take any questions that you have right now. So go ahead and I'll keep going, but you can type any questions that you have about credentialing into our question box there. So in addition to discussing the credentialing, there are many benefits that EnCorps provides as a part of our program. First, you will volunteer as a guest teacher, where you will observe, shadow, and eventually teach your own lessons with an experienced host teacher as your mentor. Our host teachers are carefully selected and have 3 or more years of teaching experience under their belt. These placements often become future employment opportunities. Along with your experienced guest teaching, you'll be supported by your EnCorps program team, who will guide you through the process. And the program team also observes you at your school site, connects you to other fellows and schools, prepares you for teaching interviews, and supports you as you get into your own classroom. We also provide credentialing resources, research, and CSET study materials. And like I said, we have personal relationships with credentialing institutions and can provide discounts to select programs. And a huge benefit of being an EnCorps Fellow is the robust slate of professional development that we offer. We have 3 in-person events each year: our Summer Residential Institute and our Fall and Spring Institutes. Fall and Spring Institutes typically happen on a Saturday, and they are regionally based. And our Summer Residential Institute is a weekend in June, typically a Friday through Sunday, and it rotates between Northern California and Southern California. So these in-person trainings are practical interactive work sessions that build teaching skills, and we go through topics such as classroom management, behavior and instructional strategies, diversity and inclusion, project-based learning, Common Core, and the next generation science standards. In addition to that, as I mentioned, right away you would begin our online professional development modules through Google Classroom, which also serve as a way that you can connect with other fellows online. So this cohort of peers is a group of people that you would be sharing your experience with, all professionals transitioning from industry into teaching. And we host social gatherings throughout the year, and we also have these online communication tools to keep in touch with other EnCorps Fellows. In addition, when you enter a new industry, it's often helpful to get a foot in the door and start to create that network. And we have close relationships with our partner schools and districts in all of our regions. Our partners have seen EnCorps Fellows in action as guest teachers and full-time teachers in their schools, and they recognize the unique leadership and skills that EnCorps Fellows bring to a classroom. So I'm going to pause here and answer a couple of questions that I see that have come up. Can you elaborate on obtaining verification of employment for the CTE credential? Yes, so the verification of employment will be done through your previous employers. You need to show that you have at least 3 years of industry experience in the industry sector in which you hope to obtain your credential. There are some specific hourly requirements, which I can actually, maybe we can email about that, Evan, in case you're wondering what those specific hourly requirements are. But essentially, it needs to add up to about 3 years of experience in the industry. There have been instances where people owned their own companies or things of that nature. And if that's the case, usually an employment verification can come from, someone in the industry that you worked with. So I hope that answered your question, Evan. I'm going to quickly unmute you if I can and just see if you have any follow-up questions.
No, thanks. That's perfect. Thank you, Bethany.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right, so I will go to a question from Pure Robbie. I've a cleared CBEST and CSET and worked as a substitute teacher. Can I apply for the EnCorps Fellowship? What kind of commitment does the teacher credential program require? Oops, sorry, that's from Leah. So let me start with, yes, if you have completed your CSET and CBEST exams, you're just one step ahead. And if you've worked as a substitute teacher, that experience is great as well. So you would still be eligible to apply for our program. All right, and then I see another question about the commitment for the teacher credentialing courses. And does that require attending classes, and can it be compatible with a full-time job, from Leah? And the answer is yes. So the coursework, it depends on what type of credential you decide to obtain. So as I mentioned, the career and technical education credential can be done online. There's 3 courses. It can definitely be done on a part-time basis. So you can get that done pretty quickly in a matter of 3 or 4 months. You could still be working for sure. The single subject credential requires more coursework than the career and technical education credential. And so you can choose many ways to complete this coursework. There are online programs, in-person programs, part-time and full-time. You can definitely do it as you are working as well. I'm going to give one quick example of a credential route that many of our fellows have taken. So we mentioned the accelerated pathway, and I'm just going to go back to that graphic. And that if you were doing a single subject credential through the accelerated pathway, you would be doing an intern program. So one common route is that our fellows have started their coursework in May online. So we work with several universities that offer online coursework where the professionals worked in their industry all through the fall, all through the winter. In May, they started their coursework online. They continued that coursework May through August and were able to still continue working. They were hired at a school site to begin teaching in August as an intern teacher. And so then there's a point, where you would quit your role in industry and start to focus on your role as a teacher. So that would happen essentially in the spring or summer as you are taking the coursework, but you just have a couple of months of downtime before you are working as a teacher. As an intern, you will continue your coursework through your first year teaching, and so typically that would be done online in addition to your full-time teaching role. So it can definitely be compatible with continuing your role in industry for quite some time and minimizing the downtime as well. All right, so if you do have follow-up questions to what I just described, go ahead and type those into the question box. I'll continue on. We have just a few more slides, and then I will pause at the end for more questions. All right, so we're getting into talking about where those school partners are located. EnCorps partners with schools and districts in all of the regions that we serve. Our partners are carefully vetted through a selection and rating process so that our fellows can expect a welcoming and supportive school environment. And it is impossible to provide all the schools we work with on one slide, so this is just a sampling of those. We will actually give a full-on map of each of our regions at our in-person interviews, but you can trust that we have partners spread geographically as well as by different grade level, from 6th to 12th grade, and various subjects as well in each of our regions. So when you become an EnCorps Fellow, you commit to begin the process to become a teacher in a high needs middle or high school in the next 1 to 3 years. And so this is our expectations for our fellows. This includes completing our online professional development modules, attending a new volunteer training in December, volunteering a minimum of 2 hours per week at a consistent day and time for 1 to 2 semesters with an EnCorps host teacher. And as I did mention, this can be completed while working full-time. Attending 3 in-person events, our Summer Institute, which this year will be June 26th to the 28th of 2020. Our Fall and Spring Institute, which I mentioned, are on Saturdays in late October as well as March. And Summer Institute rotates between Northern California and Southern California. And lastly, you'll create a plan with your program team to complete key steps in the credentialing process and monitor your progress towards becoming a teacher. And so once you become a credentialed teacher, our EnCorps Fellows are hired at both traditional districts and charter schools, and we ask our fellows to commit to teaching at least 3 years in a high needs school. Just a little bit more about who our fellows are. EnCorps Fellows become highly effective teachers. Just last year, several of our fellows were recognized with local and national awards. So you'll meet here 2 of our fellows on the screen. Nancy Katindoy was a former project manager in the biotech industry, and she was recognized as one of the most inspiring teachers by the Sacramento Education Foundation. She teaches math and engineering at the School of Engineering and Sciences in Sacramento. And Richard Chung, whose background is in accounting, was recognized as the outstanding educator by the National Association of Alternative Credentialing. And he teaches math special education at Pasadena High School in Los Angeles. And we are proud of the work that our fellows do every day, dedicating their lives to inspiring the next generation. So I encourage you to consider teaching as your next career. And our winter application deadline this year is November 15th. This is the link to apply if you have not already submitted an application. We host in-person interviews in all of our regions on a monthly basis, and so we encourage you to apply and interview early. And if you have additional questions about our organization or the EnCorps Fellowship, you can check out our website. We have a list of frequently asked questions, and also please be in touch with me. Again, I will send you the recording of this webinar. I'm going to continue to stay on the line for a couple minutes in case additional questions come in. So far, I do believe I've answered all of the questions. So thank you again so much for being on the line with us. I know myself from being a former high school math and science teacher, I've been touched by the many students that I worked with, and I hope that you will consider doing the same.